I first started dancing because my sister did it. She did ballet. I went along to pick her up or what have you, and apparently I kept joining in. And then eventually the teacher was like, well, you can't keep joining in with that class, but there's a TOTS class or whatever. So I remember being taken along to that, but it was the whole kind of like good toes, naughty toes, and then run around in a circle for 20 minutes, tire yourself out. But that was how I started, and one thing led to another. And did JAs, went to the Royal Ballet School, went the whole way through, and was very lucky to get into BRB. When I was at the Royal Ballet School, they used students to make up numbers in some of their shows, and I got the opportunity to come up to Brum, and I was in 2 Pigeons and a David Bintley triple bill. Basically, I was just pretty quick picking it up, and I think I just was quite useful. And so I got a job in BRB that way, and then I was there for 13 years. Well, I'm pretty sure I was hired to be someone useful to stay in the core and just learn stuff quickly. But happily I did manage to progress a bit in the company, so I ended up being a soloist before I retired. And then with DCD's help, I went to uni. I was going to retrain to be a barrister. So I went to uni, but you can do a 3-year law degree in 1 year. So I did that. I did the bar course, and then I took up pupillage at St Ives Chambers, which is like a 1-year apprenticeship to qualify as a barrister. I think I came to realise how special it was being a dancer as I came to the end of my career, because it's just a unique environment being in the theatre. The performing is one aspect of it, like actually being on stage, you know, performing to an audience. But it's kind of everything else that goes with it. The time in the changing room, the time backstage, all of the crew and orchestra that you come across, the live music, like all of that experience every day. That's kind of really what being a dancer was about for me. And it's amazing because, you know, people think, oh, you've changed to the bar, and that's kind of a different kind of performance. You know, you've got a deadline, you get called into court, you've got to deliver, and in some respects it's the same. But like the environment, everything around is completely different, because in the theatre everything's geared to, or should be geared to, kind of helping you perform to your best, and all of the backstage crew and LX and everyone are there thinking like, what do the dancers need? Do they want someone to distract them? Do they want someone to let them keep their heads down? All the rest of it. And then your pre-performance routine for going into court is everyone wants a piece of you. The court clerk's bothering you. You have to speak to your clients and put them at ease, because actually they're the ones that's really nervous. So it's just like all completely on its head. But I think it's that whole environment of being in the theatre. That's what's really special about being a dancer. The skills that dancers have but don't realise, I came to see once I went to uni and once kind of went out into the kind of the wider world and saw what people of, you know, in the mid-20s were like from other walks of life. And I think that dance does give you that kind of self-discipline from an early age. There's a high level of perfectionism, motivation, kind of self-reliance, and just knowing that you have to deliver. I think dancers, you have to be able to deliver. The show is not going to stop, and so that's kind of just absolutely ingrained. I think it's reliability as well. I think the reliability of being a dancer, you know, everyone's kind of there, everyone has their own route to performance, but you do get there, and you do have to deliver when it matters. There are so many skills that dancers have that you just kind of, they materialise when you apply yourself to a different discipline. You kind of don't realise them because you're surrounded by people who've developed all the same skills. But yeah, in the real world, they're really valuable. And in terms of my career change, like a lot of those were directly applicable. You know, having to make sure you do the groundwork kind of in your own time and your own pace, but whatever you do, you've got to be ready for kind of the moment that you step into court or what have you. There are skills around performance, where the environment's very different. There are skills around performance and kind of managing your nerves, managing the appearance of nerves, I think is a big one, even though you never open your mouth, obviously, when you're dancing. So managing your voice In court was something different, but everything else that goes with it, I think I've always been told, you seem really comfortable in court, and it's like I really wasn't. But I think that's, the dance is the whole, control of your breathing, control of everything, and the perfectionism, frankly, that everyone's got. Less the integration of the academic side into my working life, but more actually the lack of repetition was probably the bigger challenge, I would say. Because with dance, you have your rehearsal period, it's never as long as you'd like, but you have it and you're taught it. So someone feeds you what you need to do and then you work on it yourself and hopefully do it how you want to do it. But then it's about repetition and perfection, and that the problem is never doing it quite how you want to do it. But at least you get another go normally. Whereas in this career, the prep time is minimal. You get one shot. No one tells you what it should look like. On a case-by-case basis, no one says, well, you need to do it, you need to cross-examine, it needs to look like this, and then you try and copy, which is ballet all over. You need to figure it out, and a lot of it is figuring it out as you go along. And I think in dance, unexpected things can happen, but broadly speaking, you've got a script, you know what the steps should be. But in the courtroom, you can plan how you want things to go, you can plan what you think someone's answer is going to be, but it turns out people have minds of their own. So really, you do have to just wing it. To an extent that you didn't really on stage. Everyone was working. If something went wrong, everyone was working their way back to where it needed to be. Whereas in the courtroom, if something goes wrong, it's on you really to try and figure out what to do next. I stopped dancing for a number of reasons. I think the quickest answer is age. It hurts, doesn't it? And I think I knew I'd done what I was going to be able to do. I'd reached my kind of ceiling professionally. I didn't kid myself that I was, if I kept hanging on for a bit longer, I'd really, break through to some next level. So I felt like I'd probably done what I wanted to do. It was a pressured career change. It's risky because you're kind of changing into a profession, a career. It's unless you get the particular exams or do whatever, you don't get into the profession. So there's no kind of other route and I chose to go to the bar, so to become a barrister, and you're self-employed. And there are no guarantees. So when I was doing my degree and my bar course, like no one's giving you any guarantees that they're going to train you until you apply for pupilages towards the end of that. So there was that whole 2 years where I was kind of thinking, what happens if I don't get a pupillage? Then I'm just stuck, not earning, just. Whereas if I'd gone down the solicitor route, you can apply for the training contracts and things that are your route to professional qualification there. You can apply earlier, like during uni. And so you've got that kind of security, and then you become an employee and you get all the pension and everything. So I do remember there was a moment where I was like, I've actually been really selfish here. I liked the idea of being a barrister, but there's so much risk, financial risk. And then when I was at bar school, COVID hit, and everyone cancelled all their pupilages, and I was just really fortunate. I still did pupillage applications, and St Ives offered me, and they didn't defer their pupillage even. They just ploughed on, and so I was able to transfer, re-qualify in literally the shortest possible time that you can qualify in. But a lot of it was blind luck and the stress of it. I mean, it was pretty stressful. DCD were always there, and they were, to be fair. I think, almost the faith that DCD kind of always showed in dancers. They would come in, even when we were at school, and say, you know, dancers have all these amazing skills that are transferable to the world of work. You can do whatever you want, and if you come to us, we'll see how we can help you, kind of thing, when the time comes. And I remember finding that actually quite daunting in a way, especially when I was trying to work out what to do next, because it's like, well, hang on, that means I can choose it. It's impossible to choose from literally anything. Like, can no one just narrow down my options a bit? But they were always there. DCD were always there, and you know, when I started thinking about what to do next, I kind of started having conversations with them. And I know there are loads of other initiatives now, I think, that were starting up around the time that I kind of actually, you know, jumped ship. A lot of coaching and other supports to help people kind of at that stage of the journey. But I think I kind of figured it out a bit on my own, managed to work out how, you know, I got the mini pupilages and work experience. So I kind of cracked that bit. But, you know, in terms of that financial risk, in terms of the, you know, it's expensive. Uni's expensive in the base case. Bar course is ludicrously expensive. And because at the bar you don't have anyone paying or guaranteeing you an outcome, if it wasn't for DCD, I may not have retrained to the bar. Well, I may not have retrained to law. I think I definitely wouldn't have retrained to the bar, because I would have gone for the more secure route, because I'd have had, you know, I would have had to take out a loan, I'd have had student, you know, debts and all other kinds of things. But with this financial security that they gave me, paying for a huge chunk of my fees, I was able to kind of do what I actually actively wanted to do, which is amazing. You know, how many people really get to just choose what they want to do twice, I suppose, and just go for it. Yeah, they're incredible and so encouraging. Just so, you know, so encouraging always. So that's how they fit into my story. Life for dancers without DCD, you'd just be left out on a limb. You'd be completely left out, hung out to dry at the end of your career, because you're a physical worker ultimately. You know, you're and unless you can keep doing it, that's you're done, and no one owes you anything. Company doesn't owe you anything. They're not going to, you know, retrain you or bring you on. Or, so it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial, because, yeah, to ease you into the rest of your life. Yeah, critical. I guess you would just have to look for, the reality is everyone would finish dancing and have to look just for immediate work, whatever work was immediately available. You know, how can you fund real substantive retraining? How can you look at properly varied second careers if actually you're more worried about just having any kind of work? And while you've got all the transferable skills, you've not got the qualifications for really anything. So you do need that. You need that time. You need that breathing space. You need that support. That's what DCD gives everyone. Without it, I think you'd have a lot of ex-dancers who just had to look for the first thing that was available, and then that's the rest of their lives. And as it is, you've got all these ex-dancers who have the space and the time to think, what actually can I do otherwise? And that's why you've got ex-dancers who are in all of these different professions doing all these amazing things. And I talk to people, you know, in my new world, and they're like, what? I don't understand. How can you all these people who've been dancers and then they're sports and S&C coaches, the filmmakers, the barristers, they get frustrated. They're like, I don't understand why you're all so multi-talented. And that's, you know, that's DCD. In terms of what advice I'd give to other dancers kind of who are thinking of finishing their career, their dancing career, I think first thing is, if you have an idea for what else you might do, try it. If you can at all, any kind of work experience, just dabble. and use whatever connections you might have to bring that about. DCD have great connections to other people they've assisted that might get you through the door, because you need to just see it firsthand. We've really only experienced the theatre, so it's very hard to imagine other worlds of work. So get in there and see what it's like. And I suppose linked to that is believe that you might be able to do it. So don't kind of think, well, I'd love to be X, Y, or Z, but it's probably not in my locker. Well, go, see it, find out whether it's in your locker. And then I suppose for me, lean on DCD and you know, speak to them early on and work out what support they can give you and what other support that you can put around yourself as you embark on in whatever direction you choose, and just remember that dancers are specialists in imposter syndrome, but it exists elsewhere too, and you've got to kind of set it to one side and believe that you can do it, because you can.